Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tell Me Why, a short, sharp, we hope sharp podcast for busy Beatles people in the know. So if you don't have time to spend an hour or 2 hours enjoying a Beatles podcast, in 30 minutes, you'll be able to find out about something really special. And tonight is no exception to that rule. My guest tonight was no stranger to the podcast that Lena Sag and I had for about 10 years called She Said, She Said. In fact, she was on that podcast when her first wonderful book, Happiness is Seeing the Beatles, came out. And I hate to tell you, if you don't have this book, too late for you because it is sold out. I am certain you can probably get it on eBay at exorbitant prices. I want to show you the kind of thing that's in it. These are photos that you have really never seen before. Look at this awesome ad that the Beatles are doing for 7-Up. And there are pictures in here of a contingent of girls who are supporting John during the time of the Beatle band, saying, "We love John and it's okay, John." And, there are pictures that you haven't seen before and stories that you haven't seen before. It is about Beatlemania in St. Louis, but so much more. Then when her second book came out, which is the book that we're going to be talking about tonight, it was just getting ready to come out. She was on She Said, She Said, and I'm going to give you a glimpse of that book, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in just a minute. Isn't that beautiful? And we'll give you a better look at it in just a second. But my guest and I have worked together for years, not only at Beatles at the Ridge, at the Beatles Authors and Artists Symposium that was held there for 7 years. I think that she's the only person that was there all 7 years that we did that symposium. And it was just a wonderful experience in Walnut Ridge, Arkansas. They are still having that festival. So if you live in that area, make sure you make plans to go. It's always around the second week in September, which is the time that the Beatles landed there covertly on the 1964 North American tour for a little bit of R&R. We have also worked together at both the New York and the Chicago Fest for Beatles fans, where we've been fortunate to share panels together and just over the years have become friends. And I am so thrilled about this new book. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about something that she does that is extremely special and unique. It is her website that she came up with the idea, created it, maintains it. It's a lot of work, but it is brilliant. It's such a good website that Mark Lewison checks it every week to see what's on there. This is what I do in my research. I do all the research in the usual suspects. And then I go to this website and I look up the topic that I've been researching, and there's always a story that's in none of those books. It's called Meet the Beatles for Real, meetthebeatlesforreal.com. And these are true, vetted, often accompanying photograph stories of people who really did get to meet the Beatles in unusual circumstances. The stories are great. So let's say I'm studying the girls and the fans outside of the gate when the Beatles were at their rented house in Benedict Canyon, and I want to know more about who was out there, what was going on. That's where I go. There's information that you can't find anywhere else. I think that it probably was the springboard for the new book, Dear Beatle People, and we'll talk to more about that. This is a collector's caliber book, hardcover, over 100 color photos. It even has, as great, the cover artwork, which is amazing, was done by Eric Cash. Isn't that great? I just love it. It gives you the whole aura of the theme of the book, which is the North American fan clubs, the fan clubs both in America and in Canada. And down to the minutest detail, this book conveys to you the feeling of a Beatles fan club. Look at the little fan that is sitting atop this chapter heading. They're sporadically placed throughout the book. The layout was done by Amy Hughes. The editing was done by the most scrupulous editor in the business, Janet Davis, MBE, most brilliant editor, who is also my editor. And it is a fantastic book. So, with my congratulations and a warm welcome, Sara Schmidt, welcome to Tell Me Why.
Well, thanks, Jude. It's good to be here, and it's always good to see you. Anyone, and my fellow John girl, I always like
That's
to see
exactly
you.
right. That's exactly right. I think you have a John shirt on, let's
I
see.
am John rock and roll, one of my favorite albums.
And for you, I wore this one from
Oh,
Nottingham, 1963. And this is the picture that I was shown when I was 9 years old.
oh,
Fall in love
cute.
with a Beatle before recess. You can see why I initially chose George. He
Yeah,
kind of,
oh, definitely. But
yeah,
John's where it's at.
yes, you're exactly right.
I could
And
see in that picture. Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, George. He's got his hand on his shoulder. Yeah, he's
it's kind of, but
looks cool like that. Yeah.
in 24 hours I had righted my wrong. George.
That's okay. You
Okay.
didn't know.
Okay, so dear Beetle people, there are stories in here that for 60 years no one researched. It was largely ignored. And I know it took a lot of work because you had to find all these people, you had to get their stories. Tell me why you decided to go down the long and winding road for the story of these North American fan clubs.
Well, you're right. Oh, I had started my website, Meet the Beatles for Real, in 2009. And in researching and gathering all these stories, the Beatles fan club kept popping up. You know, like, yeah, because of the Beatles fan club, I met the Beatles. Because of the Beatles fan club, this happened. Beatles fan club. And I was like, oh, I want to know more about the Beatles fan club. I'll read a book. Somebody's got to have written a book about it, right? No, there was no book. There was no information about the American Beatles fan club. Now, there's some about the British that Frida Kelly ran. And, I was naive. I thought, I'll write a book about the Beatles fan clubs, thinking like just one little book about the British club is so different than the American one. While they had ties, they were ran differently, different people, different philosophies. They were just different. So that's why ended up separating them. But I started writing it in 2017, and I didn't get finished until what, 2023? It's when it was a lot. And I just kept finding more and more and more. Once the word got out and people realized what I was doing, I started getting people contacting me. But at first, I got the list from 1965 or whatever it was, and just tried to contact the people that were presidents of different Beatles fan clubs going down the line. And women changed their names a lot, and it was not easy.
I can see that because I'm reading the book and I'm going, oh, I know her. I know her. I know her. And then I got to Kathy Sexton in San Diego and I thought, now, why don't I know her? And finally, it struck me that I do know her,
You
but
do know her.
she's Kathleen Kaiser. And you had to find people whose names have completely changed.
Yes, it was not easy. And, I used the whitepages.com. I subscribed to it, and I would type in the lady's name, who was a girl at the time, the name that I had, and I'd have to be a detective. So I knew I was looking for someone in their 60s or 70s. So it'd have like an age range. And then a lot of times it would say also related to. And that's where I would look to see if they had anyone on their side of the family with the name that matched the name I had on the paper.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
from there, I would handwrite them a letter and send it in the mail. And then sometimes I got responses back that it was completely and totally the wrong person. And they're like, why are you missed? Why are you sending me a letter in the mail? I don't even like the Beatles.
Oh boy.
I'm like, well, you have the same name and you're in the same age range. But a lot of times I was fortunate. I struck gold and contacted the right person.
Yeah, you have so many stories. And, people we know, I think Pat
Mhm.
is Kinzer was her maiden name, right, Pat Kinzer?
Yes.
That story really hurt my feelings. It really made me a little bit teary-eyed,
Yeah.
It, it,
It's
it
heartbreaking.
yeah. And of course, all of our friends in the Beetle Babes. Um,
Yes.
so it's Patricia Gallo Steinman. What was her maiden name? Was it Gallo?
Gallo, yeah.
Yeah, and then who else? Who else is in the
Marty Edwards.
Marty? Yeah, Marty. And I love her story because she has that point
Yes.
to give to
And of
John.
course, I became friends with them because of this book. I
Yes,
interviewed them, like they had written their books, and then I like pulled them aside at a fest and was like, "Will you help me and participate?"
it is magnificent. And you don't have just their stories. I mean, their stories alone would be fascinating, but you have lots of pictures that people took with their cameras of the
Yes.
Beatles that you can't see anywhere else. We see all these magazines that say never before seen photos. Yeah,
No, I really, well, and some of the people that you don't know that shared their stories, I was just amazed. I said, "How come I've never heard this story before?" And they said, "You're the first person that ever asked."
wow.
And then I wonder how many other people have stories about the Beatles that just haven't been asked. You
Really?
just don't know to ask them.
I know. Well, tell me one of the stories that really touched your heart and tell me why this one spoke to you.
I really like the story of Elaine. She was the president of well, it started out being called the Cheese Forever fan club because Paul McCartney said in some magazine article that his favorite food was cheese. But it changed quickly to the Northern Texas Beatles fan club, and it grew to be the biggest fan club in 1965. It had the largest membership. And because of that, Elaine was invited to meet the Beatles and greet them as they came off their plane in Houston. And she bought, well, with the fan club, they raised money and they bought cowboy shirts, buttoned down with pearl buttons, shirts for each of the Beatles. And she had them in beautiful boxes to present to them as they came off the plane in Houston in 1965. Well, Jude, I'm sure you know what happened at the airport in Houston in
Was
1965.
she one of the ones?
She was not. She was there, excited, holding her beautiful boxes. She's going to meet the Beatles as they come down off the plane, and the Beatles did not come down off that plane.
Patty why?
Yes, fans rushed the plane and were trying to like tip it over, and she got caught up in the mess, dropped the boxes. They all got smashed. And she's just heartbroken. Like, now I won't get to meet the Beatles because these fans rushed the plane and the Beatles had to like escape out of a crane.
Yeah.
But then she got told that she could go inside and the Beatles would talk to the press briefly and she could talk to them inside the hangar. So she goes and she gives them these smashed boxes with the shirts, but the Beatles were so nice. Oh wow, and Ringo especially was excited about the cowboy shirt, that matches up. And Paul is just smitten with her. Now she had been a model for Mary Quant, and she was quite a cute little thing, but she was 15 or 16. But he's like, "Oh, you're just gorgeous." And so he asked her to stay, like, go out to the hallway, and I'm gonna have you come back because I want to talk to you a little bit more. So she does, and he gets called back, and he's just talking to her like, "How did you start the fan club?" And John walks by. She like now this is one of these things you can't vet. You just have to go with what she says. And she says he coughed, said jailbait. Jailbait.
I can see that.
I could see that too, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Which and Paul's just like, whatever, he wasn't really making moves on her. He was being flirty. But he wasn't because the Beatles had to go their way. She had to go her way. But he did ask her where was she going to be at the concert, and she kind of told him what section she was in. And during one of the songs, he winked and waved at her, and all the girls were like, "Was that for you? Why? What?" Like,
Unbelievable. See, these are things that you wouldn't find out anywhere else. And they're stories that are historically important. These are things that really happen that have been omitted from the story.
right. And that makes things a little more human to me. Like, that's why the fan stories have always appealed to me, because we can get the press story and we can get the story from the Beatles
Right.
side of things, but it makes it more human when we add the real actual fans and their perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I just cannot tell you how many there are that those of you who are listening do not know. And some of them are very sad. Some of them are extremely happy. Some you will just roll laughing. I mean, when Marty Edwards hands John this plaque and she says, it's take it, it's heavy. And he goes, "Hey ho, it is heavy," or whatever he responded to her. I remember him saying "Hey ho" because I thought that was a little bit strange, but they're really cute stories, and some of them, especially Pat Kinser's story, is you just have to read it to believe it.
Yeah, as the Beatle years come to an end, the stories get sadder,
Yes, yes,
as expected. But there's still some moments in there, like in 1970, Paul snuck up on some fans on Halloween that I think is hilarious.
yeah, it's
And I
great.
just think I think that's just a riot.
So in order to make this book really feel like an authentic fan club magazine, um, you chose this format. Tell me about Eric's picture and about other things that you did to make it feel like a real fan club magazine.
Well, I have to give Eric Cash all the credit because it was all his idea. He's so creative and so talented. So everybody should check out ericcashillustrations.com and see what he does. But he came up with the idea of making the book more fun and have it look more like kind of a 16 magazine. So he has this cover, which is kind of copied off a 16 magazine. And then sprinkled throughout the book are little fun pages. So, like, my favorite fun page is the find the difference between the Sergeant Pepper. And he drew that. Like, he did the
Oh,
line drawing of that.
oh my
And
goodness.
there's differences. I don't remember what page it's on, but that's my absolute favorite one.
I
But
love
he
it.
also did, like, he colorized some pictures that to make them look ugly, like the fan magazines would do.
Tell us about that one. Mrs.
Oh, that's a T-shirt
Yes, it's from a fan
from
club.
a fan club that was right toward the end. Mrs.
Lennon
Lennon's Apple
Apple Farm.
Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody bought that T-shirt. But Eric also has those little cute little girls, and they're kind of copied from the Hard Day's Night poster for the movie. Has little girls like jumping around, and that's where he got the idea for those. And so he just sprinkled them in.
Here is a really sad one. This is a picture of John Lennon's record, I Apologize, which, comes from his apologies at the 1966 press conferences. Would he apologize 17 times, I think?
I don't know. I think I lost count.
Chuck Gunderson has the clip,
Yeah.
and it starts off very teary-eyed and sincere and sad. And by the 17th time he has to grovel, he's starting to get mad about it, which, yes, I get it. But that I didn't even know that existed there. This book is something that you will enjoy, cherish, and put out on your coffee table.
But there's a lot of little fun jokes. Like, there's take the Beatle fan quiz and find out which Beatles meant for you. I don't know. We tried to include little fun things in there while you're reading.
Why the title,
Entertainment.
Dear Beetle People?
Yeah. Well, that is what all the fan club newsletters always started out with: Dear Beatle people, blah, 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 blah. This is what the Beatles are doing.
I love it. It
So I
is
thought
it,
that I had the title for the book way before I even started writing it.
it's
Like,
perfect.
usually you don't come up with the title till the end, but
Yeah. I've got titles and people write me and say, "Why the SH on every book? Why have you done that?" I don't know. Just, I just did. I wish I had a good story. I need to come up with a good story for that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Think
Well,
of something.
Sarah, where can people get the book?
You can find the book on Amazon. It's available as an ebook, a paperback, and a hardback. Or if you want to order it directly from me, if you go to meetthebeatlesforreal.com, there's a little link there that says buy my book or something. So something about the book. And I can ship out. I only have paperbacks right now at home that I can ship out to people. And I will be at the Fest for Beatle fans in Chicago. So that's a
August,
great place to find me.
August 8th through the 10th, Hyatt Regency, O'Hare. And if you've always thought about going to the fest and you're like, well, maybe I'll go next year, what are you waiting for? Because it is so much fun, isn't it, Sarah?
The one we had in New Jersey, I think was like some of the most fun I've ever had.
I did.
I had such a good time.
Yeah. It was just, if you enjoy Beatles people, and who doesn't enjoy being around people who love the Beatles, because people who love the Beatles are kind and thoughtful and fun and love peace and love happiness. It is a great weekend. There are art exhibits, there are yoga classes, there are people that actually knew the Beatles that are speaking, there are authors, there are panels, there are live music, tons and tons and tons of live music. What am I forgetting, Sarah?
Well, there's just people hanging around. Like some of the most fun I had was just sitting with other Beatle fans and talking about random Beatles stuff.
Yeah, it's a great,
There's just it's just a good vibe all
yes.
around.
Come and meet Sarah, and she ask her about her book. I guarantee you that she will get you a copy. But I will say this, her other book sold out very rapidly, and this book is selling out as well. So if you're thinking about getting a copy, I wouldn't dilly-dally. I would.
I am thinking about re-releasing my first book, having it reprinted. I've kind of been working on that. I've been slacking. I was real good about a year ago. I was gonna do it, and then I kind of fizzled out. I did have Dan Donnerman from The Circle write an intro for me or whatever, a forward.
Oh, well, this'll back in
I know. I need to get back to,
where you once belong.
yeah, I do. That's what I need to do. I
Well,
need to talk to Janet. That's who I need to talk to.
that's right. You do need to talk to Janet Davis, MBE, and get back on it. Um, we always end every Tell Me Why with the same question. And strangely enough, we have only had this repeated one time in a whole entire year. What's your favorite John Lennon quote? Can be a lyric, can be something he said, it can be anything. What's your favorite?
Well, Jude, this is really hard.
I know.
My first thought was, and now it's all this, because I say that all the time, but that's not really a good quote. So
All this.
I say that all the time. But it's like, that's not really a good John Lennon quote. So I went looking through the stuff, and in his last interview on December 8th, 1980, with Laurie Kay, he said, it sort of dawned on me that love was the answer. It seems the underlying theme to everything that is worthwhile that got down to it is this love, love, love thing. And I thought that just kind of sums it all up.
And what a perfect time to say that and realize that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. For it to be like I think it was his last interview.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he wrote The Word, which is one of my favorite songs. Like that was kind of the context of it. But still, I just thought, yeah, I like that.
I like it too. I've never heard that before, and I love it. That is just the perfect way. Well, guys, Sarah and I both urge you to come to the Fest for Beatles fans. Let's go to Sarah's panels. You can look in the program book, find out where she'll be. She may have a booth, still thinking about that, but you'll be able to find her. You see everyone. Talk to her about this magnificent book, and or you could go ahead and go to Amazon, purchase it now, bring it with you, and she'll sign it for you. And we look forward to seeing you there. Hopefully, things are looking good. I don't want to jinx anything, but I think that we may finally have a printer for some forever. If so,
Yay.
we'll have the Saturday morning 10:30 a.m. book release party, and we're gonna have John songs and John prizes and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
So
I'm there.
I figured you'd be there, and that's where you can talk to Sara. You can come up.
I'll be there. Yeah, I wouldn't miss out on that.
So thank you, Sara, for being on the show, and
Thanks, Jude. It's fun.
congratulations on this great.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy the way it all turned out. It was a long journey to get to it, but I'm very proud and happy the way the book turned out.
And thank you, Sean, for encouraging Sara to do that and keeping her on task.
Yep.
Always. Always.
Yep.
Well, goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget to check out Sara's book. I'll see you next time on Tell Me Why. Ta-ra and shine on.